Welcome to this morning, this day, and this opportunity to be together in community, which is a time of joy, comfort, and sometimes challenges. This Unitarian Universalist congregation is a place where we come to learn more about being human. We're not here because we figured out life's questions or because we think we've got it right. We come here to learn more about being in relationship together. How to listen, how to forgive, how to be vulnerable, and how to create trust and compassion in one another. Let us move into our service, willing to be authentic with each other, honest within ourselves, and open to connection in all its forms. Our chalice lighting is by Paul Sprecher. We light this chalice for the web of life which sustains us, for the sacred circle of life in which we have our being, for the earth, the sky above and below, and for our Mother Earth, and for the mystery. We also light the green candle in honor of our commitment to the planet. November's chalice song is Yonder Come Day. Please sing on mute with gusto as you are able.
Yonder come day, day is breaking, yonder come day. Oh my soul, yonder come day, day is breaking, the sun is rising in my soul. Oh, yonder come day, day is breaking, yonder come day. Oh my soul, yonder come day. Day is breaking, the sun is rising in my soul. Oh, yonder come day. Day is breaking, yonder come day. Oh, my soul, yonder come day. Day is breaking, the sun is rising in my soul. The sun is rising in my soul. The sun is rising in my soul.
Today we acknowledge the people who inhabited this continent for over 12,000 years before the Europeans arrived. It is estimated that more than 50 million people lived in the Americas by the 1400s, of which about 10 million lived in the area that we now call the United States. Very few of the indigenous tribes and cultures survived the influx of outsiders. Indeed, many were killed as a direct result of the actions of those invaders. By naming this, we hope to heal our collective misconceptions and bring ourselves to a new place of understanding between us and the indigenous peoples of this land we all call home. We want to emphasize that indigenous peoples of the Western Hemisphere are diverse in their languages, cultures, values, and beliefs. There is no such thing as one single Native American culture. Nevertheless, Native American cultures and languages are typically intimately tied to the land, with worldviews grounded in recognition of the interrelationship among humans, animals, plants, water, winds, sky, and earth. Specialists in Native American history understand that the population was organized into nations that interacted with one another through trade and sharing of agricultural knowledge. Hybrid seed corn was developed for the survival of plants in a variety of climates, and the dispersal of herds of buffalo was intentionally encouraged as far east as Buffalo, New York. By broadening our perception of American indigenous people beyond what we have absorbed in popular culture, we can begin to appreciate that the land we currently inhabit was originally their home, a home that they had come to know intimately over many generations. Another important understanding is that Native Americans are still here, living modern lives, even as contemporary people. Many Native Americans still retain strong connections to their specific traditions. Today, we are fortunate to hear about one contemporary Native American man who was a friend of Alicia Jarriman's and her family. She will share some of his story with us today. We hope that by opening a window into one man's experience, we will be better able to neutralize the stereotypical perceptions of Native Americans that we might be carrying and replace them with an appreciation for one man whose roots were in Northern Cheyenne Nation.
Today's opening hymn will be number 203, All Creatures of the Earth and Sky. The words will be on your screen or in the order of service.
All creatures of the earth and sky, come kindred, lift your voices high. Alleluia, alleluia. Bright burning sun with golden beam, soft shining moon with silver gleam. Alleluia, 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 alleluia. Swift rushing winds so wild and strong, white clouds that sail in heaven along. Alleluia, alleluia. Fair rising morning, praise, rejoice. High stars of evening find a voice. Alleluia, 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 alleluia. Cool flowing water, pure and clear, make music for all life to hear. Alleluia, alleluia. Dance, flame of fire so strong and bright, and bless us with your warmth and light. Alleluia, 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 alleluia. Embracing earth, you day by day, bring forth your blessings on our way. Alleluia, alleluia. All herbs and fruits that richly grow, let them the glory also show. Alleluia, 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 alleluia. All you of understanding heart, forgiving others, take your part. Alleluia, alleluia. Let all things now the holy bless, and worship God in humbleness. Alleluia, 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 alleluia,
As a spiritual community, we journey together through life's ups and downs and hold each other in love. We take this time to reflect on our week, to recall the milestones, the joys, the concerns, the sorrows, the changes in our lives, and those in need of healing.
All right, I'll go ahead and drop one final stone for the thoughts and the joys and the concerns that we didn't get a chance to share, but we hold in our heart. Our centering hymn for today is going to be Ancient Mother, number 1069. It's a traditional Navajo prayer. The words will be on your screen and in the order of service.
Ancient Mother, I hear you calling. Ancient Mother, I hear your song. Ancient Mother, I feel your laughter. Ancient Mother, I taste your tears. Ancient Mother, Ancient Mother, I hear your song. Ancient Mother, I feel your laughter. Ancient Mother, I taste your tears.
In her book, Braiding Sweetgrass, Robin Wall Kimmerer of the Potawatomi people describes the indigenous canon of principles and practices that come into play when you must take a life in order to sustain your own, such as when you harvest wild berries, or fish, or dig up wild leeks for your dinner. These guidelines are called the honorable harvest, and she tells us that they are not written down or even consistently spoken of as a whole. They are reinforced in small acts of daily life. But if you were to list them, they might look something like this. Know the ways of the ones who take care of you so that you may take care of them. Introduce yourself. Be accountable as the one who comes asking for life. Ask permission before taking. Abide by the answer. Never take the first, never take the last. Take only what you need. Take only that which is given. Never take more than half. Leave some for others. Harvest in a way that minimizes harm. Use it respectfully. Never waste what you have taken. Share. Give thanks for what you have been given. Give a gift in reciprocity for what you have taken. Sustain the ones who sustain you, and the earth will last forever.
Yo we oh hey yo hey yo we oh hey yo we oh hey yo we oh hey yo hey yo hey yo we oh hey yo we oh yo hey yo yo we oh hey yo hey yo we oh hey yo we oh hey yo we oh hey yo hey yo hey yo we oh hey yo we ah oh hey yo hey yo we oh hey yo hey yo we oh hey yo we oh hey yo we oh hey yo hey yo we oh hey yo we ah oh hey yo hey yo we oh hey yo hey yo we oh hey yo we oh hey yo we oh hey yo hey yo we oh hey yo we ah oh hey yo hey yo we oh hey yo hey yo we oh hey yo we oh hey yo we oh hey yo hey yo we oh hey yo we ah oh hey yo hey
This congregation honors the dignity and worth of everyone, including those who join us on Sunday morning. We are a self-governed community. We raise the funds needed to continue our mission in the world and jointly decide how those funds should be spent. Your donations to support the work of this congregation will be gratefully received at this time. We are pasting in the chat a link to All Souls donate link, as well as the address to which you can mail your check. We welcome your gift today. Mail your check to P.O. Box 850219, Braintree, Mass. 02185 0219.
Much of the Native American music and singing that you've heard this morning was played by Joseph Firecrow. He's actually a junior, but goes by Joseph Firecrow, whom I would argue is one of the top Native American artists of all time. I did find notes that he was one of the top three with Carlos Nakai that you might be familiar with. The following clip is shown with permission from the Native American Music Awards NAMA YouTube channel, with additional permission from Joseph Firecrow's wife, Joanne. After my reflection piece, I will post some links in the chat, which are also available in your order of service to access this and other resources about him. And after Joe speaks, we'll hear a sample of his drone flute, which is a flute with two chambers. One is a static sound and the other is the melody. So that will become pertinent as you listen to the video.
I was watching Discovery Channel the other night. The name of the program was Who Discovered America First? It wasn't Columbus, of course. But you know, the word America, people had names for this place long before that word came. And each one of our tribes, there were hundreds and hundreds of tribes then. And they all governed each other. There were some that were great nations. They built huge ramparts, huge things. My people were a bit more nomadic. Long ago, we lived in earthen huts. The Europeans, they brought something, the horse. And that's when we took off onto the plains. And we followed the buffalo herds. Our bow became short, and it was shot from the hip as you rode your horse. You didn't need a canoe. Now we could travel long distances over land. The time of the dog was over, and now was the time of the horse. Much changes were coming for all the people at that time. My great-great-great-great-grandfathers and mothers wondered if we would still be here today on this planet. Some predicted, even our prophet, sweet medicine, predicted the disappearance of our people. There are less than 10,000 Northern Cheyenne people left on this earth. And I'm one of them. But you know what? I'm from this community here. I moved in with my in-laws. I moved into this family, and now I am a part of it. And I have become a part of this family, the Italian family. So I'm Italian too. I love the love of my life. And the name is Cartelli, and I'm proud to walk with it for Joanne. In the changing of times, these people, the elders would always say, for as long as we can remember, there have always been visitors coming here. In the changing of times, like the stars, they numbered and they came. Sweet medicine talked of what a cow was like. No one had ever seen one before. But the food they would bring and how it would change our people's ways. That we would lose our language, let alone our songs. But it is through many of the gifts that came with these people to this land that have enabled us to survive the most fiercest storms of all. It is through the written word that we're maintaining our identity as well. It is nothing that is evil or bad, for we have no word in my language for anything like that. when we are all here, all related, whether we really realize that or not. When I play the drone, I think of two worlds coming together. A simple note, and then those others. As you make a beautiful melody, the power and the strength of the drones.
Joseph Firecrow is someone who I'm very grateful to have crossed paths with in this lifetime. I'd much rather it be he who was telling you about his journey today, but sadly, I met him only a little more than 2 short years before he passed away. Despite the time we knew each other, I know that he called me friend, and I'm honored to have had the privilege to have called him a friend as well. His presence is in my life even now when I see a hawk flying or hear the song of a Native American flute. I think of him and I give thanks that he had shared the songs of his people. I hear their stories in my head and their songs in my heart at times when I need them most. I'd like to tell you a little bit about what I know of his journey, though through some of his words and a few of my own, to show you a short snippet of his circle of life in the hopes that it will resonate with you. His journey was not always a smooth one, but no matter the ups and downs of Joe's experience here on Grandmother Earth, he was always thankful to his creator, for which he used the native Cheyenne word maheo, for all the blessings, both large and small. I'm going to play you one more short clip of him telling you his Cheyenne name. Hang on one second.
My name is Hospinahko. Nahko means bear. Hospinahko. unsuccessful bear is my name. And I'm going home. Joanne and I are going back to the res to face the music. And when my elders, if they don't smile, I'm going to be very afraid. When I see their smile, I would feel really good. Do not speak lies, they would tell me. Do not speak of things you know nothing of. And I would say, okay. And when I go home, someone will inevitably say, what's your real name? And I will say, Hospinako. And they'll go, ha, which means yes. They were afraid that we would forget even our names. The young people back home, the young ones, they're speaking the old language. And as a boy growing up in the 60s, my first language was Cheyenne. And then we were forced to speak English. And every time we spoke our language, they would beat us. They took our hair and they deloused us, but they wouldn't let us speak our language. And when I say they, I mean the boarding schools and unfortunately the Christians. And they were kind of tough on us, but they made us strong. We do not judge people on what religion you belong to, but we judge you by your faith of your heart and how you walk in your life. If you're a decent person, if you're an honest person, but if you go around hurting people and lying to people, deceiving them, taking things from them, stealing from them, your name will not carry too much after you've walked a path like that. So we walk a good life, and hopefully the names will pass on to the next generation. And I want to walk in a good way, straight eyes, from my heart, through my eyes, in an honest way.
Joe was born Joseph Firecrow Jr., the son of Joseph Firecrow Sr. and Alva Stanton Timber, on the Northern Cheyenne Reservation in Lame Deer, Montana, just under an hour drive east of the Little Bighorn battle site. His grandfather, John Stanton Timber, was the Cheyenne tribal historian and published a book in 1967 titled Cheyenne Memories, which was the first to put into detailed writing the oral history of the Cheyenne people up through the early reservation years. Cheyenne are indigenous to the Great Plains of America. The Cheyenne people are split into two U.S. federally recognized nations, the Southern Cheyenne and the Northern Cheyenne. Joe's family was from the Northern Cheyenne. In Joe's Cheyenne culture, traditionally the Fluteman passes along the stories of the people through the generations. Joe was one of 10 children and lived on the reservation full-time for the first 9 years of his life. In an interview from September 2015 with White Eagle Speaks, whiteeagleoyate.youtube.com, Joe says, "When I tell people about myself, I'm a simple flute man and I'm a human being. I'm Cheyenne. I have a Cheyenne name. I come from a good family on the reservation back in Montana. And ever since I was a little boy, I loved music and I loved making noise as I was growing up. I was always dancing and I was always doing something and always heard the traditional drumming. I grew up with it and it flows through my blood. It flows through me. In the 60s, it was a simple time, basically, especially for the social part of our people. We were coming out of the dark ages where we could finally do this out in the open again, and it was very powerful. I remember watching the dancing, and in the evening time, I would hear the flutes, and I just wanted to be able to do those things when I got big enough." After the age of 9, Joe was sent to a boarding school, the one he mentioned in the earlier video clip. and then he became part of the Indian placement program run by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. He was placed with a foster family during the school year in Seattle and would return to his reservation in Montana for the summers with his family. He attended Brigham Young University for college and played trumpet through most of his school-age years. When returning to the reservation for summers, he would often use his trumpet to play taps for any warriors that were laid to rest while he was there. Though many would have been resentful, having his family seemingly replaced for half of the year by someone with no blood relation, Joe would speak of the LDS community as a whole in favorable terms. He held his foster family and specifically his foster mother in the highest of regards. He gave her thanks and praise whenever he could for giving him, quote, the foundation of who he was in his heart and in his head. Again, instead of choosing to hate, he chose to be grateful. He was grateful for the education and the opportunities that he had been given. He was grateful for the home that he was welcomed into and the love of the family that he was surrounded with there, while still remembering and giving thanks for the family that he had back on the reservation. In the summer of 1977, at 18 years old, while on the reservation, Joe was taught to make flutes. His uncles and the other elders showed him the process of choosing the right tree, first by finding a tree that is lying down, then asking the tree for permission to make music with it, and thanking it for its sacrifice. They would give an offering, often of tobacco, a powerful medicine and a healing herb, and a spiritual tool for his people who dried it naturally and incorporated it into many of their spiritual offerings. He would sometimes tell the story of returning to his uncle's drum group on the reservation and having certain members ask him, "What are you doing here? Are you trying to be an Indian?" Sadly, I don't know what words Joseph used to reply to them, but I know that in actions he answered them by coming back, by learning, by earning their respect, by being present with his elders and the rest of his people. He took their doubt in him and used it to make his resolve stronger. He would tell of the elders sharing their wolf songs, the stories of his people, and of having to repeat those stories back exactly word for word over and over again. He would tell of sitting on the reservation and hearing the birds and the wind, and then playing their songs on the flutes that he would make. But every time his stories were followed by the gratitude and respect for that wind, those birds, his elders, and the lessons that they'd placed in his head and heart. Joe didn't start to make flutes sing again until his 30s. It was then that he picked up a flute and began to play the songs he had heard when he was that little boy listening to the evening songs of his people. Not until 1993 did he quit his day job and become a flute man full time. As he was starting that journey, he met and married his love, Joanne, whom you saw in the video. She would become the organizer of his flute work, and they would travel from one side of the country to another and back again, sharing his music and stories to all who would listen. He was given many awards for his wonderful talents: 7 Native American Music Awards, the 2016 Native American Music Lifetime Achievement Award, and the winner of the 2010 Grammy Award for the Best Native American Music Album. He even had a short stint as an actor in an off-Broadway play, Distant Thunder, and worked with Steven Spielberg on Into the West and Ken Burns for the documentary Lewis and Clark: The Journey of the Core of the Discovery. But when asked who takes credit for those awards in the earlier mentioned 2015 interview with White Eagle Speaks, Joe says, "When I'm given an award for a recording that I've made, the honor is awesome, but that goes to my people. That goes to my elders, my family, and my beautiful wife. It's strong and it keeps me humble. Whenever I get too narrow-minded and I get arrogant and I get really small like that, all these blessings and all this recognition will go away, and I won't be worthy of walking with them in a good way. And so I'm honest about what I say and what I'm doing today. And I'm always talking about my elders, what they mean to me and what they mean to all people in general. And really, it's important to remember that." He goes on to say, "If I keep these spiritual things in a good, humble place, the medicine is there that these people will feel their feelings. They will think good things. The flute music is beautiful. There's something about it that's so elemental, that's so raw and pure. It's energy. And how it not only touches people, it touches the animals, it touches the plants, and even the air. It brings everything alive. When I take my flutes out and play, I make a direct connectedness to everything around me, and they in turn give back to me. And it inspires me and gives me great ideas. A fluteman man is to spread love to all people and to all beings and every living thing, because his flutes were once a living thing. And now we've asked that tree permission to use it in a good way, and it has a new voice. It has a beautiful voice as you, with air that comes from within you, you blow into that flute and it plays, it makes a noise. And if you make your flutes good and right and how I was taught to make them, that is going to be a beautiful thing happening. As a flute man, I make flutes, I play them. There are singing songs that come with that, and there are stories that come with that. We call them wolf songs. And the elders recognize that, and they give their blessings and their recognition. And that is more important than any award I could ever win, whether it's a Grammy Award or a NAMI Award. The honor goes to them, and it frees me up from getting narrow minded and being less than what I'm capable of. My mother, she told me, she said, "My son, don't try to be anything you are not. Be the simple fluteman that you are." And that has always stayed with me. Joe was fond of telling how the center of the tree is the only part strong enough to make flutes sing. The flute man must carve two halves of a flute from the center of the tree, using their hands and sharp tools to slowly work away the outsides of the wood to find the beauty within. Then they glue those pieces together and make a hole, and carve a block, oftentimes with an animal shape, to place on the top holes of the flute to channel the breath into the steeped inner chamber of the lower flute. The song does not come from the outer beauty of the flute or the detail in the carved animal on the block, but rather the space inside the flute that shapes and vibrates the air blown through it. Joe would often say that people are very much like that, for it is the space inside them that can make them sing. In the native Cheyenne music, drum beats are often represented of the heartbeat of Grandmother Earth. Joe used his voice, his breath, and his music to share that heartbeat with the world, tell the stories of his people, and by extension, to keep their heartbeat alive. He gave the gift of his people's songs, stories, and beliefs to everyone, even those who were not of his blood. Sadly, his story ended far too quickly. He went to meet his creator, his Maheo, at the age of 58 on July 11, 2017. Joe was known to say, "You can teach someone how to play the flute, but you can't teach them how to make it sing." I would like to offer my appreciation to Joe for making his flutes sing and for sharing their songs with my family and I on many treasured occasions. If you'd like to listen to more of Joe Firecrow's music, you can find him on Apple or Amazon Music, or you can buy his music CDs or DVDs from his website, which is still run by his wife, Joanne, at www.josephfirecrow.com. I already pasted in the chat a couple of links if you're interested, and we're going to do today's closing hymn, which is number 163, "For the Earth Forever Turning," performed by Jacob. The words and music will be on your screen and in the order of service.
For the earth forever turning, for the skies for every sea, for our lives, for all we cherish, sing we our joyful song of peace. For the mountains, hills, and pastures in their silent majesty, for the stars, for all the heavens, sing we our joyful song of peace. For the sun, for rain and thunder, for the seasons' harmony, for our lives, for all creation, sing we our joyful praise to thee. For the world we raise our voices, for the home that gives us birth. In our joy we sing, returning home to our blue green hills of earth.
Today's reading is titled "This Is Our Calling" by D. Scott Cooper. The world aches for us to join together and bring about healing, toil for justice, and produce ever-increasing love. This is our calling. Go forth and act accordingly. Amen.
For today's postlude, Jacob was wonderful enough to come up with an original composition along with some scenery from his drive through Mississippi.
Hi, for announcements, tomorrow evening at 6:30 will be the first drop-in session for Reverend Joanna's Anti-Racism Connection Circle. On Tuesday at 7 o'clock on Zoom, the All Souls Book Discussion Group will be meeting, and the discussion will be on Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol. Next Sunday from 9 to 10:10 on Zoom will be a virtual choir practice. Jacob will provide technological guidance to those who would like to add their voice to the All Souls Virtual Choir. All are welcomed. I believe the Dickens Festival debriefing conversation is going to be forwarded to the 13th instead of next Sunday. Also, a week from this coming Tuesday at 7 o'clock on Zoom, the Social Action Environmental Committee will be meeting. And I have some, dates for the December holidays. So a week from this coming Friday on the 11th, from 7:30 to 8:30, we're having the Blue December service online. And that's going to be in collaboration with our neighbors at the United First Parish in Quincy. I'm not sure about Friday the 18th, if that's still happening, because I heard something about one of the outdoor services may end up being canceled. So we'll just have to wait and see until Joanna comes back about that, please. And we also have Sunday, December 20th at 4:30 is the longest night, a solstice service held outdoors at the United First Parish in Quincy. And we have our own All Souls Christmas Eve services held online at 6 o'clock for New Year's Eve. I'm sorry, Christmas Eve.
Thank you so much, Joe. I appreciate that. The last little bit is something that Reverend Joe asked us to share. Our guest minister for January has prepared this for her people and has allowed it to be shared out. And it's the lighting of the candle for the first Sunday of Advent. So I'm going to go ahead and play that, and then we'll do breakout rooms shortly thereafter.
We are entering a time of year where the earth grows colder, the animals begin to hibernate, and the days become continually shorter. This morning marks the beginning of the season of Advent. In the Christian tradition, Advent is the beginning of the church year, recognizing the transforming power of God in the world and looking forward toward the birth of Jesus and the celebration of spiritual light. And Christianity is not alone in celebrating light at this time of year. Hanukkah, solstice, and Kwanzaa all involve candles, fire, and lights as part of their celebrations. Each year until Christmas, we light a new candle on the Advent wreath, a circle of evergreens, along with each of the preceding candles. The flame of each new candle reminds us that something is happening now, but something more is still to come. The light of Advent grows brighter and brighter, guiding us toward personal peace, shared joy, and more love. This morning, we light the first candle. We light this candle as a symbol of hope and expectation. May we dare to open the shadowy places of our lives and memories to the healing light of community. With the creative power of hope, we express our longing for peace and prepare our hearts to be transformed.